There's a haunting kind of tension in living a love story beneath a magnifying glass. Every whispered moment, every lingering look, every fleeting touch becomes public property, analyzed and dissected by people who were never in the room. Intimacy, in its trust form, is supposed to be sacred. Something shared in the quiet space between two people, fearless, full of electricity and vulnerability. But when the world is watching, even the softest sighs echo too loudly. The simple act of loving someone becomes a performance, not by choice, but by force. The mystery is stripped away, replaced by tabloid headlines and think pieces. Suddenly, what was meant to be personal starts feeling performative. And yet, the heart doesn't learn to love in shadows just because the spotlight's harsh. There's still that age for closeness, it's called fearless, that pull towards someone who makes you feel understood when the world is shouting. You try to hold on to the purity of connection to protect what's real while strangers try to write their own version of your script. They don't see the small things, the shared glances across a crowded room, the late night phone calls, the unspoken agreements that live in the spaces between sentences. Desire has never been the enemy, though the world is quick to make it feel like one, especially when it comes from a woman who speaks her mind, who lets her body be a part of her storytelling, who dares to want and say so out loud. For so long, female desire has been boxed in, toned down, made palatable. It's allowed in small doses, as long as it doesn't disrupt the expectations built around silence and submission. But real desire doesn't fit into neat little boxes. It pulses, it claims, it reaches for something more than just fairy tale endings. It wants to be seen, not just in whispered metaphors, but in the fullness of its hunger, its heat, its heart. And yet, for every bold lyric or sultry gaze, there's backlash waiting. Judgment wrapped in facts, concern, shame disguised as tradition. But there's power in saying, I want, I feel, I choose. There's beauty in breaking away from the narrative that asks women to shrink their appetites, to apologize for the fire in their chest. Wanting isn't weakness, it's humanity, and when it's embraced without shame, it becomes a kind of freedom that echoes louder than any criticism. There's an unspoken rule book written by people who've never lived inside the body they try to control. It tells women how much skin is too much, how many lovers are too many, how loud is too loud, how soft is acceptable. It's a double standard carved into culture, where male desire is praised and female sexuality is policed. When a man explores love, he's adventurous. When a woman does, she's reckless. When he writes about sex, it's raw and poetic. When she does, it's scandalous and attention-seeking. Her body becomes a battleground, her choices a spectacle, her voice a threat. They demand she be both desirable and demure, bold but never intimidating, confident but not too confident. They call her names if she owns her narrative, punish her if she steps out of the quiet lane they've paved for her. Every dress she wears, every lyric she writes, every partner she chooses is turned into a referendum on her worth. She becomes a canvas for everyone else's projection, a symbol of either sin or purity depending on the headlines that day. But none of those voices sit with her in the silence after the stage lights fade, where she's still just a person trying to be whole in a world that benefits from keeping her fragmented. Some stories aren't told in chapters, but in songs, in glances, in the lingering scent on a borrowed shirt. Romantic storytelling, when done right, doesn't just speak about love, it breathes it, wraps it in metaphors, cloaks it in vulnerability, and lets it unfold in fragments. Fearless, It captures the chaos of butterflies on a first date and the quiet ache of a love that's slipping through your fingers. It doesn't shy away from the mess, the miscommunications, the late night fights that start with nothing and in silence. But it also doesn't lose sight of the magic of fingers brushing by accident, of the world pausing in a kiss, of hearing your name said like a prayer. Each verse becomes a snapshot, each chorus a confession. There are layers beneath obvious, meanings between the lines that only someone who's felt that kind of love would recognize. It's never just about two people. It's about who you become when you're with them, what you lose, what you risk, what you save. There's a difference between singing about love and bleeding it onto a page. The latter isn't about happy endings. It's about honest middles, raw truths, fearless, and the kind of passion that refuses to be flattened into cliches. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the rawest form of courage. It's choosing to show the parts of yourself that aren't polished, the chapters that don't have perfect endings, the wounds that are still healing. There's a kind of bravery in saying, this is how it felt to be abandoned, or this is where I fell too hard, too fast. It's not just about heartbreak, it's about admitting you cared enough to be broken in the first place. In a world that praises detachment and cool indifference, being open about your feelings is a quiet rebellion. Vulnerability holds power because it's the opposite of armor. It invites connection, not performance. Fearless. It means you're not hiding behind clever comebacks or rehearsed smiles. You're letting people see the messy, beautiful, complicated truth. You're letting the silence hang for a moment longer than is comfortable. You're saying what others are too scared to say, and in doing so, you give others permission to do the same. Fearless. It's easier to wear cynicism like a shield, to pretend you don't care, to brush it all off like it never mattered. But it takes a different kind of strength to love anyway, to risk anyway, to speak anyway, even when the world might twist your honesty into something else entirely, in a world that tries to rewrite your story before you've even lived it. There is undeniable power in reclaiming every line: love, desire, intimacy, heartbreak. They're not tabloid headlines or cautionary tales. They're real, called fearless, lived in experiences that deserve to be told without apology, without dilution, without shame. There's beauty in vulnerability, strength in sensuality, and freedom in refusing to be silenced. These aren't confessions, they're declarations. Not of weakness, but of wholeness. And when the story is told in your own voice, on your own terms, no one else gets to define what it means.